Have you ever had a dream that felt so real you could almost touch it? Or maybe you felt that little sting of jealousy, the one that feels so sharp it could change everything? Well, today, we're going to step back in time. And we're not just going to hear a story, we're going to live it. We're about to journey right into the heart of a family that gets torn apart by favoritism, by incredible dreams, and a betrayal that would literally change the course of history. Okay, you ready? Let's dive in. So our story kicks off in the sun-baked fields of ancient Canaan. Let's zoom in on a 17-year-old boy named Joseph. Now, he's one of 12 brothers, but he's different. See, he's the first son of Jacob's absolute favorite wife, Rachel, who had sadly passed away. So every time Jacob looks at Joseph, he sees the face of his lost love. And he doesn't just feel this love, he shows it a lot. And this love, which should have been a comfort, well, it ends up planting a really dangerous seed among the brothers.
To prove just how special Joseph is to him, Jacob gives him this unbelievable gift. Now, don't just picture a regular coat with some colorful patches. No. Think of a long-sleeved, magnificent, ornate robe, something a prince would wear. You gotta understand, back then, this wasn't just clothing. It was a giant, walking, talking symbol. It basically screamed to everyone, this son right here, he's the future leader of the family. Now, imagine you're one of his brothers wearing a rough, scratchy shepherd's tunic. Seeing Joseph walk around in that thing every single day was a constant reminder that in their dad's eyes, they just weren't as important. And that feeling of jealousy, it started to curdle into real hatred.
So you'd think the fancy coat was enough to stir up trouble, right? Well, it's about to get a whole lot worse. Because on top of everything else, Joseph starts having these incredibly vivid, powerful dreams. And then he makes a huge mistake. He decides to tell his brothers all about them. The same brothers who were already looking for any reason to be angry with him. Okay, so in his first dream, picture this. They're all out in the field harvesting wheat. They're bundling up the grain into something called sheaves. All of a sudden, Joseph's bundle of wheat magically stands up straight and tall. And then all 11 of his brothers' bundles gather around his and they bow down. The meaning was, well, pretty obvious. And his brothers were furious. They just threw it right back in his face, saying, "Oh, so you think you're going to be our king? You think you're actually going to rule over us?" Yeah, that dream just poured gasoline on the fire of their hatred. You would think Joseph might have learned his lesson after that. Maybe keep the next dream to himself. Nope. Soon after, he has another one. And this one is even bigger, more cosmic. And of course, he tells his family all about it. This time, his dream is out of this world, literally. He sees the sun, the moon, and 11 stars all bowing down to him. It doesn't take a genius to figure this one out. The sun is his father Jacob, the moon a symbol for his mother, and the 11 stars? You guessed it, his 11 brothers. Now, even his dad is a little worried. Jacob actually scolds him, saying, "What kind of dream is this? Are you saying that me, your mother, and your brothers are all going to come and bow down to the ground before you?" But here's a really interesting detail. The text says that while his brothers burned with jealousy, his father kept the matter in mind. He was thinking about it. Okay, so let's just pause here. The stage is totally set for a disaster. You've got a father showing way too much favoritism. You've got a young, maybe kind of proud kid who doesn't realize the effect his words are having. And you've got a whole group of brothers who are just simmering with anger and resentment. This family is like a pot of water just about to boil over. The only question is, when? And this is the moment it all happens. The brothers take the family flocks to find pasture far from home near a place called Shechem. That distance, that separation from their father, it creates an opportunity for their anger to grow. And after a while, Jacob starts to worry, so he decides to send someone to check on them. And who do you think he chooses? Yep, Joseph. Just get this picture in your head. Joseph, walking alone for days under that hot Middle Eastern sun. His beautiful, ornate coat is like a bright target against the dry, dusty landscape. He finally gets to Shechem, but his brothers aren't there. He's totally alone, searching around, until a stranger finds him and points him in the right direction. "Oh," the man says, "I heard them say they were going to Dothan." Now, this little detail is so important. It tells us that what's about to happen isn't some random accident. It's like fate is pulling Joseph directly toward this meeting. And then they see him. While he's still a long way off, they recognize him. They recognize that coat. And in that single moment, all those years of simmering hatred just boil over into a cold, dark plot. Here comes that dreamer. They sneer at each other. Let's kill him. But Reuben, the oldest brother, he feels a little flicker of responsibility. So he comes up with a different plan.
Hey, he says, let's not kill him. Let's just throw him into one of these dry wells, these cisterns out here in the wilderness. But secretly, he's just buying time. His real plan is to sneak back later and rescue his little brother.
So Joseph finally arrives, probably exhausted from his long journey. And you can imagine he's expecting to see his family, maybe get a drink of water. Instead, he walks straight into an ambush. He's not met with hugs or handshakes. He's met with pure violence. It all happens in a brutal instant. They swarm him, and the first thing they do is rip that precious coat off his back, the very symbol of their father's love and their own deep resentment. And then they throw him down into the darkness of that empty cistern. Can you just imagine the terror, the confusion, the absolute shock of being betrayed by your own flesh and blood? And what happens next is one of the coldest, most chilling moments in the entire story. With their brother Joseph likely crying out for help from the bottom of a dark pit, what do the brothers do? They sit down and eat their lunch. It's just this shocking picture of how hard their hearts had become. But as they're eating, they look up and see something on the horizon. A caravan of traders, their camels loaded with spices, making their way down to the markets in Egypt. Seeing that caravan gives another brother, Judah, a brand new idea. And it's a plan that has nothing to do with mercy. Nope, this one is born from cold, hard, calculated logic. So Judah says to the others, look guys, what do we really gain if we kill him and have to cover it up? Let's sell him instead. It's such a twisted argument, right? He uses the language of family. He is our brother, to justify the absolute worst kind of betrayal. And the other brothers? They agree. It's easier, it's cleaner, and hey, they'll even make a little money. So they pull Joseph out of that pit and sell him for 20 shekels of silver, the going price for a slave. But wait, where was Reuben during all this? He was gone. And when he finally gets back to the pit to carry out his secret rescue plan, he looks inside and it's empty. His panic is so real. As the oldest, he was the one responsible. He tears his clothes, which was a sign of incredible grief and despair. The boy is gone, he cries out to his brothers. What am I going to do now? But it's too late. Joseph is already in chains, being led away toward Egypt. So the brothers have a new problem, a huge one. How are they going to explain Joseph's disappearance to their father? So they come up with a lie that is every bit as cruel as what they had just done. They take that beautiful coat, the very thing that started this whole mess, and they drench it in the blood of a goat. They travel all the way home, and they present this ruined, bloody garment to their father with a cold, rehearsed line. They say, "We found this. Take a good look and see if this is your son's robe." They don't even say his name, just your son's robe. Jacob recognizes it instantly, and his heart just breaks. He jumps to the worst possible conclusion. A wild animal must have attacked and killed his favorite son. He falls into this deep, bottomless grief that no one can pull him out of. All his other sons and daughters try to comfort him, but he refuses. He says he'll carry this grief with him to his grave. And all the while, his sons just stand there, watching him suffer, knowing the terrible, awful truth that they've buried deep inside. Wow, what a story. It's just such a powerful warning about one of our internal dimensions, a character trait we all have to deal with: jealousy. For Joseph's brothers, it started as just a small seed of resentment, but because they let it grow, it turned into a monster that led to betrayal and decades of pain. So that brings us to our mid-dot challenge. Let's call it Taming the Green-Eyed Monster. It's a simple 3-step plan. First, this week, just notice the feeling. When you feel that pang of jealousy, just name it. Say, okay, I'm feeling jealous. Second, force yourself to find one good thing about that person or their situation. And third, see if you can turn that envy into fuel for your own positive action. It's a small step, but it's how we stop the poison of jealousy from taking root in our own hearts. Thank you for joining us for this complete journey through the Pardes. We hope these ancient truths help you and your family improve your own dimensions this week. If you enjoyed this full chapter deep dive, please like, subscribe, and share which part of the journey touched your soul in the comments. We'll see you in the next chapter.